Hi everyone, welcome to my evidence-based practice presentation. I'm so excited to share with you guys a snapshot of what I've been focusing in on this semester. My EBP was on the impact of pre-admission intervention for ambulatory surgery on pediatric patient procedure-related anxiety. It is a mouthful, but bear with me. So my PICO question was really focused on pediatric patients with scheduled ambulatory surgery or day surgery, as you might have heard it previously. Do pre-admission interventions, so we're looking at do pre-admission interventions compared to no pre-admission interventions improve procedure-related anxiety upon admission. So that really drove my final clinical question. So in putting it all together, among pediatric patients with scheduled ambulatory surgeries, do pre-admission interventions compared to no pre-admission interventions improve procedure-related anxiety upon admission? So my target population was obviously pediatric patients. We're looking at children ages 0 to 18 years old with a scheduled ambulatory surgery. So inclusion criteria were that children were 0 to 18 and had an upcoming day surgery. And the exclusion criteria included individuals over the age of 18 or children under the age of 18 that didn't have an ambulatory surgery scheduled. Some definitions real quick, just to clear things up. Ambulatory surgery. So this is also known as day surgery, day case surgery, same day surgery, outpatient surgery. In summary, it's a surgery that does not require any overnight hospital stay. So it is a check-in, surgery, check out, same day. Pre-admission intervention, to get specific, we're looking at a time set aside for a professional to verbally or physically walk a patient through their upcoming ambulatory surgery, through the events leading up to and following their procedure. So that can be like a tour, or some of the studies I found, professionals would schedule meetings in offices to walk children through this process in person. This can also be a tool or resource such as an informational video, a pamphlet, a book, a game, anything that prepares pediatric patients for what they're going to see, hear, or do the day of surgery that's given prior to the day of surgery. Procedure-related anxiety is just a patient's level of anxiousness, either self-reported or observed by professionals, that's related to their upcoming procedure or day of surgery process. And a lot of times, and for a lot of these studies, this was actually measured with some type of developed measurement of anxiety for patients. My search strategy for this research really dove into English academic journals and studies that came from those two filters, and any studies post 2016. That's where I really found the bulk of my evidence. And a lot of the search terms has to do with pediatric patients, pre-admission tours, preparation materials, and a lot of the different names for ambulatory surgery, as I kind of mentioned within the definition itself. Which led me to my evidence. So, quick summary of the evidence that I got to gather. I found about 19 studies that had content related to the PICO question for this review, and in the end, 9 met the requirements to be included within this review. All studies detailed preparation interventions that were provided prior to day of surgery. All studies provided either virtual, in-person, or physical copies of the preparation intervention. 8 of 9 studies utilized an anxiety evaluation method to determine the intervention's impact. A lot of these were clinical trials, and so a lot of them got to use these anxiety evaluation methods side by side in groups that did receive pre-admission intervention and who did not. Gave you a really cool picture of what that was going to look like. 8 of 9 of these studies found that pre-admission intervention methods were successful in reducing patient anxiety. 6 of 9 articles were focused on the virtual methods of pre-admission intervention and were all found to be very effective in decreasing procedure-related anxiety for these pediatric patients. 9 of these studies were identified as high quality, and there was one systematic review that I found that was evaluated for the purpose of this EBP statement. Very cool stuff, a lot of really cool content. Here is my evidence synthesis table I'm really excited to share this with you guys. It's so rewarding to be able to look at this and see the body of evidence that I accumulated. So you can go ahead and pause if you'd like to take a bigger look at it, but it really just summarizes who used what methods to find what product. So all in all, my recommendations are one, that it is completely recommended that pediatric patients with an upcoming ambulatory surgery should be provided with preparation interventions or resources, either virtually through videos or games, physically through books or pamphlets, or in person through touring or meeting with a professional to decrease procedure-related anxiety. And my second recommendation is that it's highly recommended that further research on this topic should be conducted. So applicability issues are just really hospital resources. One might be that hospital money has to be put towards resource development. Another, that staff's time in developing resources will have to be used. Also, staff's time and effort towards implementing said resources. And as well, for a lot of cases, COVID-19 in-person restrictions really has made hospitals that I've discussed this with take a step back from in-person touring and in-person visits prior to a needed and scheduled surgery. Some possible solutions that I kind of identified were researching resources that are already available for pre-admission and education and preparation, as well as these studies really emphasize that virtual methods of pre-admission preparation were proven to be effective, therefore can be used for the desired results, which could be an answer to the COVID-19 in-person restrictions. And really, when this is presented and implemented within hospitals, some measures to look for are just really feedback. I think is a really good start. Feedback from staff on how this is being implemented, how it can be easier, what needs to change, what's going well, what they're seeing, what's helpful, what's not. Feedback from patients, really key. Obviously, not all of them will be able to verbalize what professionals need to see if this is working, but feedback from patients is always necessary when we're so focused on, developing something that's going to help patients, as well as feedback from patients and family members who's really working with them. So that is my EBP. Thank you so much for listening. Here are my references and resources you can look for. Super excited to have this come to an end. And yeah, thank you guys for listening.